Okay, so you've heard the announcement. You know we're going to France, but why? Like, well, what is the purpose? What is the vision? And here's the thing. So we were on our way back from Europe, North Africa, back to North America. We're on the plane, crossing the Atlantic, and had all this stuff churning inside of me. If I could get you to see and feel what I was feeling. Come here. Follow me. Come here. Oh. Yeah, we're gonna have to print this out.
Load paper.
Load paper. Whoops. That's actually, see, that's a great outtake right there. (1976). (1976). Okay. All right. Well, first of all, we are together. All of those who put their faith in Jesus. Shared king, that's Jesus. Shared mission, and that's to make disciples. Let's look around the world. We have guys like that guy. We have things like this that we'll remember for the history of the United States. Today, we have people like this. We have places like this right here. And it's scary. It's a scary place. But because we have a shared king and a shared mission, that calls us into a shared risk. I was reading in Acts chapter 9. We had a guy named Saul, and he loved to kill and imprison Christians, a lot like this guy right here. Jesus spoke to this man named Saul, transformed his heart into the Apostle Paul. Ananias was a regular guy, had no idea. And God said to Ananias to go and speak to this guy. And Ananias, being just a regular person, was scared. He said, Lord, I've heard many reports about this man and all the harm he's done to your holy people in Jerusalem. And the Lord said, hold on, no, Ananias, go. This man is my chosen instrument to proclaim my name to the Gentiles. God transformed Saul to the Apostle Paul. God is transforming people all around the world today. Our hope as regular people is not in politics or military force, but in Jesus, our shared King, who gives us a shared mission, and so we can risk together for this mission. Here's Martine, me, Martine, and I, 1998, in France. I met a girl who loved Jesus, who was beautiful, who spoke French. That was good enough for me. And 4 years later, we were married. Our desire was to go back to France, and so we joined an organization called World Venture. So in 1998, I walked up the Sacred Heart Cathedral, and I turned around and looked out, and I saw 11 million people living in the Paris area. Most of them, they had never met Jesus. Their interactions with the concept of Jesus was a statue in front of the skeletal remains of a religious system that had been dead for generations. And that was shocking to me. When I went back home to Oregon, where I was from, I would walk into a coffee shop. I'd see Bibles. I would turn on the radio. I would hear Christian radio. I would see church buildings. And in France, there were none of these. God broke my heart for the French-speaking world that summer. This is where we thought we were going to go. And then we started learning about other parts of the French-speaking world, especially me. Look at all the countries, the yellow countries that speak French around the world. One of those places is Quebec. You go to New York, you hang a left, and you run into 8 million French speakers, most of whom have never heard about Jesus. We joined with a number of French pastors and began to start French-speaking churches. One began in our home, in our living room. It grew. We were able to purchase this building. That's right in the middle of 180,000 people just north of Montreal. And today it looks like that. So at this point, we had passed the baton off to local French pastors, and we were at a good transition point. We have friends who made us shirts that said, I spent over 10 years in Quebec planting churches, and all my friends got me was this dull shirt. We moved to Colorado, and our desire was to rest and pray about next steps. We'd been preaching encouraging people to look at not just their community, but to start other churches around in other communities and cities. And this is our plan, to live out what we've been preaching for 10 to 15 years. And then we were 36 hours away from leaving to fly to France when I found out I had cancer. And so for the last year and a half, we've gone through chemotherapy and the whole process of fighting this disease. And through this process, I was reminded of Psalm 23. He makes me lie down in green pastures. The clinic, 2 minutes from our house. There's no better time to talk about the hope we have in Christ than when we're going through chemotherapy. I had the privilege of baptizing my son, Caleb. I went through 3/4 of a master's program at Western Seminary online. One of my neighbors, she put her faith in Christ. And then God granted remission. We had blood test after blood test, and things came out normal, 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 normal. And what this process did was make me cognizant of death, yes, but because of the resurrection, we don't have to fear it. My mind kept thinking about these parts of the world where most people don't have access to this hope of the resurrection that I had. And so as long as we have breath, we're going to live for our King. We're going to live out this mission, and we're going to be willing to risk. And we can risk because of the resurrection. Remission, resurrection, mission. As a family, we went to Euro Disney to celebrate remission, and we met with ministry partners in different parts of North Africa, different parts of France, and we went to the city of Montpellier and began to explore, God, what next steps do you have for us? The city of Montpellier is right here. It's in the south of France. It's the fastest growing city in France. But before I tell you more about Montpellier, I've got to share with you some thoughts on the French-speaking world.
I can't believe we got that camera just dangling above your head. It's like, it feels super precarious, but...
And France. Up here is Quebec, and here's Colorado. Oregon's over there. Down here we have Morocco, Algeria, here, and Tunisia. So this is France. This is Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia is up here. Up here we have Quebec, and here we have the US. Here's the reality. Okay, this is the reality. Quebec, you have 8 million people who live there. You know how many? You have about 30,000 who know Jesus, who would say that Jesus came, lived, died, and rose again to save them from their sins for all of eternity. In France, we have 67 million people. Of these 67 million people, according to Operation World, we have, give or take, 600,000 of those that would say they put their faith in Jesus. In Morocco, this is a country of 34 million, and of those, you have about 5,000 say they put their faith in Christ. Algeria is a country of 40 million. Of those, we have about 87,000 put their faith in Christ. Tunisia, a country of about 11 million, and about 1,000 that put their faith in Christ. So if we put this all together, to France, down here, in this triangle, right here, how many do we have? We have about 160 million people, and of those, we have about 722,000 put their faith in Christ. In the United States, we have about 320 million people. Double that of these three corners. Questions, are there double the people who put their faith in Christ? No way. According to Operation World 2010 edition, we have about 93 million evangelicals in the United States. It's not double, it's a lot more than double. Let me show you something. We do a comparison, all right? Imagine we have a group of 200 people that are representative. One side, this is the USA, 200 Americans in general. The other side, this is the French. How many of these people over here would be considered evangelical believers? You would have this many, give or take. You'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. If you took a group of 200 people on the French side, how many of those would say they put their faith in Christ? Almost one. That's not that there aren't people here who don't know Christ, that haven't met Him. But it's the people over here don't even have access. They're asking the same questions, struggling with the same doubts, and yet where are they gonna go to find the hope of the resurrection of Jesus Christ? Montpellier. It's the fastest growing city in France, university town, North African communities. So Montpellier is a city of about, greater urban area of about 500,000 people. Fastest growing city in France. The goal of the pastors here is to have one evangelical church for every 10,000 inhabitants. In order for that to happen, we need to start another 18 churches. It's a beautiful city. It's in the south of France, right there on the Mediterranean coast. And it's right where a lot of the unrest is taking place. Heard about the France attack in Nice in southern France, not far away. And some people respond by demonstrating, and other people respond by things like that. That's a mosque in France. On top of that, human trafficking is a huge problem in Montpellier. This man, Daniel Mettioli, he has a different vision. I saw him and heard him for the first time several years ago in Quebec, and I was so impressed by his vision for what a local church could do. So Daniel, who has this big vision but is under-resourced, would like us to come and invest in a gospel movement at Montpellier that starts new churches. And the more new churches and disciples that we have in Montpellier, we'll be able to invest in students, reach out to North Africans in communities in France as well as in North Africa, and fight human trafficking together. Shared King, shared mission, shared risk in Montpellier. Now Martine and I, we're only a fraction of the response to this challenge, and to this global challenge. But together, as we all participate in each of our unique ways with our unique giftings, we anticipate that God's Spirit can and will move mightily. God is calling you to fill in this page because He's our King, because He's called us to this mission. He's called us to step out and take a risk and to follow Jesus wherever He leads.